We're returning to 18B 1541-1, State of Georgia versus Tiffany Nicole Moss. The defendant's present along with her standby counsel. State's counsel is present as well. Just a note to the audience members, we certainly appreciate you all being here to observe our proceedings, but when I let the jury out just a little bit ago, there was a good deal of movement. Everybody got up, started moving around while the jury was still in the courtroom. So please, when we next excuse the jury, stay in your seats until the jury's actually been excused and we've gone into recess. All right? Thank you all very much for your cooperation. All right, I think I've been educated on how to use the presentation system just a bit more than I had before. Now we're taking a huge risk by leaving this in my hands, of course, but we'll do the best we can. Do you want the presentation system on for the next witness or not?
No, Your Honor.
All right, we will test my skills here. Voila, okay. Let me just try turning it back on so that I know I can do it. Success. All right, very good. All right, stay ready to proceed.
Yes, Your Honor, we're prepared. We called Investigator D.T. Hill of the Gwinnett County Police Department case.
Defense ready to proceed? Ms. Moss, you ready? Please bring our jury. You're welcome to be seated. Thank you. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you enjoyed your break. We're ready to resume with the trial of the case. Sir, call your next witness.
Your Honor, the state would call Tyler Hill to the stand. Could you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this matter now pending shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do swear.
And could you state your name and spell your last name for the record, please?
Yes, sir. My name is David Tyler Hill. Last name is Hill.
And Mr. Hill, how are you currently employed?
I'm currently employed with the Farmers Insurance Company, performing as a claims adjuster.
Have you ever been employed by the Gwinnett County Police Department?
Yes, sir, I have.
And can you tell me the years that you were employed?
Yes, from September of 2010 until September of 2015.
All right. And what were your duties during that time?
During that 5-year stretch, I was a road officer at the Central Precinct that covered the Pleasant Hill corridor. Right.
And as a road officer, can you describe for the jury what the general duties of a patrol officer or a road officer?
Yes, sir. My primary duty was to investigate crimes as they were called in to 911, patrol the streets of a given area, and enforce the laws.
So in general, were you assigned to a zone, and did that change every shift or every day?
Yes, sir. Yeah, it normally stayed pretty consistent throughout the week, but I was assigned to one particular zone.
All right. I'd like to call your attention to July of 2012, particularly July the 2nd of 2012. Did you respond to a runaway call on Club Drive here in Lawrenceville, the Columns Apartments?
I did, yes, sir.
And at the time you responded, how do you receive those calls, if you could explain it to the jury?
So the complainant would dial into 911. The 911 operator would take pertinent information, and then it would be dispatched to me over the radio.
All right. Is it done over the radio or over the mobile data terminal or both?
In conjunction. It comes through both sources.
So when a police officer like you arrives at a call, do you have some general idea of what the call might be about?
Yes, I do.
And did you have a general idea of what this call was?
Yes. The information as it came to me at the time was a young female was kept at the leasing office of the apartment complex, and it was reported initially as a crime against a child.
All right. So where did you respond first?
We went to where the victim was located first, which was at the leasing office at the front of the property.
Right. Did you identify what you're now calling the victim? Did you identify her or the girl at the leasing office?
I did. I had collected her name and date of birth.
How did you do that?
In person.
All right. And about what age was she? Could you estimate? By looking at her?
Young, elementary age. I believe on my report it was around 9 years old or so.
So obviously she didn't have a driver's license or anything like that.
Correct. I had to take her word for it.
So she was able to tell you her name and age.
Correct. Yes, sir.
Did she tell you where she lived in the apartment complex?
She did.
What did she tell you about why she was at the apartment leasing office?
She said that it was her intention to run away.
Did she explain to you why she was going to run away?
She did. She said about a week prior, her stepmother tied her to a chair utilizing belts and put her under a cold shower.
As you observed her, were you able to see any injuries or welts on her arms or anywhere on her body?
I did ask her to see her arms. As she started to lift them to show me, she became hesitant and then put them back down by her side. Her statement to me was that the belts did not hurt, so there weren't any marks.
Okay. What did you do next?
I then asked her to look at her arms a little closer. She had a reddened area, and she explained that she had burnt herself cooking there. My next step was to go and speak with the stepmother at the time.
And did you identify the stepmother?
I did. We left another officer at the leasing office with the victim, and then I went to the apartment.
Right.
And I collected her identification at that time.
And who did you identify her as?
On her driver's license, it was listed as Tiffany Moss.
Right. Do you see that person in the courtroom today?
It's been roughly 7 years, so I don't recall her face. However, I did confirm that her OLN or her license number and her name and date of birth.
And there's a photograph on driver's licenses. Did you compare that to the person you were speaking to?
Yes, I did. I
That's
confirmed.
how you confirmed her identity.
That's right.
As you went to her, did you approach her at her apartment?
Yes, we made contact at the apartment.
And did she give you an explanation of why? Well, first of all, did she tell you her relationship with the child that was at the leasing office?
She did. She explained that she had married the child's father.
And did she give you any explanation for why the child might be at the office complaining and wanting to run away?
Her opinion was that the child was resentful of her after coming into marriage with her father. I believe there were younger siblings in the picture and one on the way, and she was resentful of that.
Did she deny putting Imani in the shower with belts?
She did.
At that time, did you feel that you had any probable cause to arrest Tiffany Moss for any crime?
I did not. I didn't have any corroborating evidence.
And so, as a result of this call, what did you do?
I created an information to forward report which alerted the Special Victims Unit of this and a DFAX referral as well.
Right. Were you aware of the previous case from 2010 at the time you responded to the call?
Ms. Moss said that she had limited her punishing of the child due to a previous arrest, and now it was just her father that handled the punishment duties. And I believe after running her name on the computer system, it showed a probation was in effect as well.
Okay. Mr. Hill, thank you. And thank you for coming in for us. We appreciate it. Ms. Moss may have some questions.
Cross-examination.
Well, no questions, Your Honor.
May this witness be excused?
Yes, Your Honor.
You're excused, sir. Thank you for coming. Call your next witness, sir.
We would call J.P. Kirchner to the stand. Go ahead and get comfortable.
Yes, sir.
Could you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this matter now pending shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Can you state your name, please, and spell your last name for the record?
John Kirchner, Kirschner.
All right. And obviously you work for law enforcement, is that
Yes, sir.
correct? Where do you currently work?
Forsyth County Sheriff's Office,
And what are your duties with the Forsyth County Sheriff's Department?
patrol, road patrol.
Have you ever worked for the Gwinnett County Police Department?
I have.
How long, and if you recall the dates of service with the Gwinnett County Police Department?
October 28th, 2011 to October 21st, 2018.
And did you go directly from Gwinnett County to the Forsyth County Sheriff's
I did.
Department? What were your duties while you were assigned to the Gwinnett County Police Department, or while you worked for them, I'm
I
sorry?
spent 4 years uniform patrol and 3.5 years in the Special Investigations Section assigned to the Vice Unit.
Just for the jury's information, the Vice Unit, what types of investigations are done there?
Human trafficking, prostitution, gambling, alcohol.
Okay. I'd like to call your attention back to when you were in uniform, specifically July the 25th of 2012. Were you dispatched to a call at the columns at Club Drive Apartments?
I was.
And what was the nature of the call that you received?
Runaway juvenile.
Right. And again, it's already been explained by one officer, but could you explain to the jury how you received that information?
How I received on that particular call?
Correct.
Mr. Moss, Amon Moss, had called 911 and stated that his 9-year-old daughter, Imani Moss, was missing. She left the residence about 9:30 p.m. and we got dispatched to the apartment complex at 11:18 p.m.
Right. And so did you go directly there in response to the call?
Yes, sir. I went straight to their apartment.
Okay. When you got to the apartment, who did you speak with?
I spoke to Iman Moss, the father, and I also spoke to Tiffany Moss.
Right. Do you recognize the person in the blue shirt here?
I do.
Or blue blouse, I'm sorry, as Tiffany Moss that you spoke to that night?
I do.
We can't discuss what Mr. Moss said.
Okay.
But in regard to the defendant,
Okay.
what did she tell you in regard to this runaway call?
She said at approximately 9:30 p.m., Imani Moss was in the kitchen doing dishes. She walked into the laundry room to begin a load of laundry, she being Tiffany Moss. While she was in the laundry room, she heard the door slam. She walked out to see what it was and realized that Imani Moss was no longer in the apartment. She said she looked outside the apartment door and could not see where Imani Moss had gone. She also stated that she checked the surrounding area and the apartment complex and was unable to locate Imani Moss.
Did she indicate she searched anywhere else in the apartment complex other than the immediate area there?
No particular area. She said that she searched the apartment complex and the surrounding areas, but I don't know how far out she went.
Right. Was there any reason that was given for the approximate 2-hour delay in calling the police?
No, the police got called when Amon Moss got home. I guess she relayed the information to him once he got home that she was gone, and then he called.
So she didn't call during any
He did
of that
not
time?
call. He was the complainant.
Okay. What did you do as a result of this information that you received from the defendant as well as information from Iman Moss?
We later, at about 12:45 the next morning, about an hour and a half after we got there, a citizen actually found her sleeping in the bushes to the apartment complex next door. In the front of the apartment complex, she was found asleep. So we brought her back to the house. We tried to speak to her. She wouldn't really talk to us. The only thing that she said was that she couldn't tell us why she ran away, but she said when she ran away, she didn't want to go back because she didn't want to get in trouble. At that point, we ended up, Tiffany told us that she had run away 4 times in that month period. So I ended up charging her with runaway and curfew violations.
Charging Imani with that.
Imani Moss, just so she could later go see a judge and figure if something out was wrong, since she wouldn't speak to me.
Okay. Is it a fairly common practice to take out a juvenile complaint form on runaways if you're trying to get them some help in the juvenile system?
Yeah, that's very common.
And have you done it in other cases?
Yes.
Now, in that case, was Imani taken into custody or was she released to her parents?
She was released back to her parents.
So the juvenile referral that you made would essentially be a ticket and release or just set a court date, and they would have to show up.
Yeah, it's just a juvenile complaint form, which gets forwarded to the juvenile department. And I believe Imani Moss signed a release that we released him back into her back into his custody.
All right. Are you aware if that case ever went to juvenile court or whether you ever testified in it?
I'm not. I don't recall.
But you never testified in it?
I did not.
All right. Did you observe the physical condition of Imani Moss at that time?
Briefly, not just. Another officer actually went to the front of the apartment complex and brought her back to the apartment that night.
But you had a chance to see her?
Yeah, briefly I saw her.
Was there anything unusual about her condition at that point?
Nothing that I noted in the report that I can recall.
Thank you. That's all the questions I have.
Cross-examination. May this witness be excused.
Yes, Your Honor.
You're excused, sir. Thank you for coming. Call your next witness.
Your Honor, at this time, the state calls Lisa Neal. Could raise your right hand, please, ma'am. Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give this court and this jury today in the state of Georgia versus Tiffany Moss will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
So help me God, yes.
You can put your hand down, and if you could state your name for the court and for the jury, please.
Lisa Neal.
Miss Neal, how are you employed?
By Gwinnett County Schools.
How long have you been employed by the Gwinnett County Schools?
About 10 years.
What are your duties and responsibility here in Gwinnett County in the school system?
This year, I'm teaching almost every grade level because I teach RTI, I teach a kindergarten group, I teach reading recovery first grade, and I teach 3rd through 5th math intervention groups.
And you said that's this year.
That's this year.
So tell me about what you did prior to this year as well.
I was teaching 4th grade, and last year I taught 2nd.
Move you around a little bit,
Yeah.
do they? All right. So you taught 4th grade for about 8 years then?
Yes.
And then 2nd grade last year, and now you have the responsibility for several students.
Yes.
All right. When you said you work in the Gwinnett County Public Schools, where were you working for the school year of 2012-2013? What school?
I was at Bethesda Elementary.
And was that one of the years then that you were teaching 4th grade?
Yes.
Did you actually have, at that particular time, a student in your class by the name of Imani Moss?
I did.
And was Imani with you the majority of the school year?
The majority. She came in October, and I had her through the end of the school year in May.
So she did complete the school year there in May of 2013 with you in your classroom?
Yes, she did.
And let's talk about that for a few minutes. You said that Imani was one of your students. Imani's behavior in your classroom, was she ever disrespectful in your classroom?
Never.
Okay. What about her obedience to you? In other words, was she ever defiant or disobedient where you had to take disciplinary action?
No, the only, she was precious. It was a blessing to have her in my classroom. She, the only issue we had was having her homework completed on a regular basis. She had difficulty completing her homework. The only outburst that I ever had was she cried because we had these behavior sheets that we had to write on just to keep a record, and I was going to write down that she didn't complete her homework, and she cried and cried, and I told her it would be okay.
Those type of sheets, did those go home with the child for their parents to see?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you say that the only type of schoolwork that she had trouble was just getting back to school with her homework completed?
Yes.
When we talk about what happened in the classroom and her doing her work in the classroom, was she able to perform her work and her schoolwork during the day just fine?
Yes, she was.
All right. with regard to that, was she actually, was Imani actually placed in accelerated a program there at the school at Bethesda at that time?
No, not at the
Not
time.
at that time.
Not at that time.
Was she on grade level?
Yes, she was
All
on
right.
grade level.
And during your time then, did she participate in your class?
Yes, yeah. She completed all her projects, and she was a wonderful friend to every student, even a bully that she tried so hard to be friends with on a daily basis. One time she wrote a letter to me and to the bully and said, let's just be friends, let's forget about what happened. And she said, Miss Neal, I'm sorry for the meanness that this child and I had, and, you know, we'll be nice to one another. And she just was a precious girl, precious girl.
When you said that she and the other child and you say a bully, was there a child that was difficult in the class and had trouble being friends with any of the students?
Yes, yes.
And by that, did Imani actually have an incident with her while she was in your classroom? Or just shouting?
No, not an incident. I mean, I think the child was mean to her, and she would just keep trying to be nice, and maybe she would get ignored or whatever. But she just always kept trying. She was always wanted to help people.
Were you aware if Imani had any siblings?
Yes, she had. She adored her little brother. She would light up. Her face would light up. She would talk about him, and she would tell me like all the cute little things, because he was, I think, about 2. He was a toddler at the time, and he would say these cute little things, and she's like, "Oh, Miss Neal, he said this," and her face would light up. She loved him so much and was so proud of him.
That was something that she told you just kind of in passing. It was not something that you would prompt or ask her about?
Yeah, no, she would just come out and say, he did this, he did that. And her face would light up.
During that school year, so that was between October of 2012 and then May of 2013, did you have any occasion to observe any visible injury or any type of bruising or markings to Imani during that time frame when she was in your classroom?
I did not.
Okay. If you had observed any of that, would you have made a report for it?
Absolutely. I ask kids about even the smallest things, and I tell my counselors, I always have through my 23 years of teaching, go to my counselor just in case, because being a mandated reporter, I report immediately. Even if it's nothing, I want them to know. And the only thing I did report to my counselor was I referred Imani for a study skills group so that she could get her stuff organized. Her desk was kind of messy. Get her stuff organized, maybe try to help her with homework. And so she did go to small group for that.
And when you referred her to that small group, did you ever have any behavioral problems or issues with her and getting her to attend that small group?
Never. Never.
I'm going to show you some photographs. Just a second here. If I'm out of picture,
Yes, ma'am.
I'll show you a series of photographs that are marked States Exhibits PS21, PS22, PS23, 24, and 25.
Okay.
And if you could just take a second and just look through each one of them and make sure that you recognize them.
PS 21 and 22, I took of her during field day. I took pictures of all the kids just doing the event so that I could share it with their families and then show the kids like at the end of the day or the next day. And Imani was having so much fun. She had the most beautiful smile, and that's what I'll always remember about her. She was so precious. PS 24, we were writing on Martin Luther King Day. I always had the kids write their I Have a Dream speech. So this is her smiling in her pink. She loved pink. Writing about that. And then PS 25 was, we did a project, like a historical character project, and so they made a little puppet, and then they shared about that character.
There might have been one more. I want to make sure I have that right.
PS 23, that's her beautiful, sweet, sweet smile.
And these were taken PS you identified PS 21 and 22 as being taken on field day. When would that have been?
That would have been May, like probably the middle of May is usually when we have it, a few weeks before school gets out.
And would that have been May of 2013?
Yes, May of 2000.
And then with regard to States Exhibits number PS 23, 24, and 25, I believe you identified those being done during the school year. One was during the Martin Luther King holiday.
Yes.
Would that have been done then in January?
January.
Around the January timeframe?
Yeah, 2013. And then PS 25 with our historical character, that would have been later in the year because it was like a culminating activity for the year. And then PS 23, I think that may have been in 2012, like when she first came to me. So.
And are all of those States Exhibits, PS 21, PS 22, 23, 24, and 25, all fair and accurate depictions of the way Imani Moss appeared to you during those dates between 2012 and 2013?
Yeah, school was her safe place, so she was always smiling at school.
At this time, I would seek to admit into evidence States Exhibits number PS 21 through PS 25.
Any objection? States PS 21 through 25 are each admitted without objection.
If I could have just a second, I think I would like to try to publish these if we might have the system turned back on. I apologize, I should have asked for that sooner, Your Honor.
It's okay.
And that is what has been depicted in State's exhibit now that's been admitted as PS 21. Ms. Neal, is that in fact a picture of Imani on the field day in mid-May of 13?
It is.
And I noticed in that particular photograph her hair was shorter. Was that a typical haircut for Imani, or did she wear her hair differently through most of the school year?
No, through most of the school year, she always had long hair that she pulled back in braids or like pigtails on both sides of her hair. I don't know why her hair was cut.
Okay. If we could go to the next exhibit, please. That is State's Exhibit PS 22. Is that another photograph of Imani during the field day in May of 2013?
Yes.
And now if we can move to State's Exhibit PS 23. You indicated that was when Imani first came to your classroom, that you think it was in the fall of 2012?
I think so, yeah.
And then State's Exhibit PS 24. I know there's other children in there. We'll block their faces out. But is this Imani? Is she pictured right here in the front on the left-hand side?
Yes, in pink.
And then next one on PS 25, please. And is Imani pictured, where is she in that particular photograph?
She's in the middle in pink, the smaller girl in pink.
All right. And that's actually, although she's wearing pink, it's actually a different day. Is that correct?
It is.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Neal, at the end of the school year then in May, did Imani Moss actually complete fourth grade with you?
She did.
All right. Mm-hmm. And did she, in fact, do well enough that obviously she moved on to fifth grade?
Yes.
All right. And so was she to be then a fifth grader at the beginning of the August 2013 school year?
She would have, yes.
After Imani left your classroom there, did Imani return to your elementary school to start her fifth grade school year?
No. Her friends asked about her, but no.
And did you at that particular time have any idea why she was not enrolled in school there?
No, I did not.
Did you see Imani Moss any time again after she left your classroom in May of 2013?
I did not.
Excuse me, Ms. Neal. With regard to this particular case, were you contacted after Imani was discovered deceased in November of 2013?
Yes, the officer that was in charge of the case came and questioned me at school.
And would that have been Officer Detective Colin Flynn?
Yes.
Okay. And did you, in turn, then speak with Detective Flynn about your knowledge of Imani and the school year that you had during 4th grade?
I did.
At that time, did Detective Flynn inquire about Imani's size?
He did.
All right. And obviously, we've published some photographs of her at that particular time. Were you able to give Detective Flynn an estimate of what you thought she weighed when she left your classroom in May of 2013?
I thought she was always little. I thought 50 to 60 pounds. Not sure.
And that's all right. That was your estimate at that time, but that is, in fact, what you told Detective Flynn?
It is.
All right. And you said she was always little, but did she seem in any way at that particular time in May of 2013 frail or disproportionate, or did you have any concerns about her weight during that school year?
I did not.
Ms. Neal, those are all the questions that I have for you, ma'am. Ms. Moss may have some questions for you.
Cross-examination. May this witness be excused.
She may, Your Honor.
You're excused, ma'am. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Call your next witness.
Your Honor, the state calls Sharonice Moss. Place these exhibits.
Thank you, ma'am.
You raise your right hand, please, ma'am. Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give today in the state of Georgia versus Tiffany Moss will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, you can put your hand down, and if you could please state your name for the court and for the jury.
Sharonice Moss.
Miss Moss, are you related to Amon Moss
I am.
and also Robin Moss?
Yes, I am.
All right, and who is Amon Moss to you?
He's my brother.
Is he older or younger than you?
He's 1 year older.
1 year older? And have you, let me ask you this, did you know Tiffany Moss, the defendant in this particular case?
I did.
How did you know the defendant, Tiffany Moss, in this case?
Married to my brother.
And how long, I know we're in 2019 now, and obviously these events that we're here about occurred in 2013, so that's about 6 years ago, 5.5 years ago or so. Prior to that, do you recall how long your brother Amon and the defendant had been married?
Approximately maybe 6, 7 years, maybe 6 years.
And with regard to that, let me ask you first, did your brother Amon have a child from a previous relationship prior to marrying Tiffany?
Yes.
And who was that child?
That was Imani Moss.
Did Imani and your brother live early on and during Imani's life with your mom?
They did.
And your mom is that Robin Moss?
Yes.
Did you ever live at the house with Imani and Amon at any time that they were living there with your mom?
Probably briefly, maybe 2 months.
Eventually, did your brother and Imani then move out and live on their own, away from your mom's house and not with you anymore?
They did. With my mom. Yeah.
With your mom. All right. And then once your brother and the defendant were married, did they live in different places on their own as a family at that point?
Yes.
Would Imani live with your brother and the defendant after that?
Yes.
Did there come a time when Imani lived with your mom and had been removed from your brother's home?
Yes.
Were you aware of any of the facts and circumstances surrounding that situation?
Yes, I was.
Were you interviewed in any way with regard to that case that occurred with the defendant being charged in 2010?
I wasn't interviewed, no.
So anything that you actually knew about that, did that come to you through people just telling you what had occurred?
Yes.
All right. Based on what you had learned from other individuals, though, is that why Imani went to live with your mother?
Yes, I mean, I went and visited her, and I saw the scars, I saw the bruises on her.
And that was after she had gone to live with your mom, is that right?
That's correct.
And when you say the bruises and the scars on her, who are you referring to that you saw those scars and bruises
I'm
on?
referring to Imani Moss.
So did you spend some time then with your niece at your mom's house when she lived there?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. After that, did Imani ultimately go back and live with your brother and the defendant Tiffany after she had lived with your mom?
Yes.
When they lived, did you still have, throughout all of this time and into 2013, did you have a relationship with your brother?
I did.
Would you still text him on the phone sometimes?
I would.
And call him every now and then, and you two would have a brother-sister-sibling relationship?
Right, yes.
With the defendant in this case, did you have much of a relationship with her?
No, not really.
Did you, would you say that I know she was married to your brother, but did you feel like you knew her very well?
I wouldn't say very well, but I felt like, I mean, because they were married, I felt like I probably should have, but no, I don't think I knew her very well, no.
Was it uncommon, it wasn't uncommon for you to speak to your brother. Was it uncommon for you to speak just to the defendant about things going on?
Could you repeat that?
Sure. You said that you spoke to your brother on occasion. You would text, communicate. Would it be uncommon for you to have that type of communication with the defendant?
Yeah, it would be uncommon.
So that was not something typical that you or she would pick up the phone and call each other or text or things like that?
Absolutely not.
When, after Imani had gone back to live with the defendant and your brother, would you see her very often at all?
On occasions, but not a whole lot.
And when you say occasion, can you give the jury any kind of idea of, because that happened in 2010 was the first incident.
Okay.
And then between that time and 2013, when Imani died, would you say you saw her several times a year or a few times a year, or can you put a number on it for
I
anyone?
would say maybe 3 to 4 times a year.
And let's go to, did Imani ever come and stay with you or spend some time with you and your kids?
She did.
And when was that?
Just occasionally. I mean, it was several times she had came and spent like the weekend.
And when would that have been? Would that have been closer to the 2012, early 2013 time range, or did it happen all the time?
It was probably earlier than that. It was definitely earlier than that. I think the last time she came over our house, it was in probably 2011, maybe.
Okay. So she did not come and visit at your house much after 2011. Is that accurate?
She would come and visit with the family, but no, not by herself, no.
And when Imani would come and visit with you, was she ever a discipline problem?
Never. Never.
Did she ever act out or defiant or anything of that nature?
Never.
When was the last time that you actually saw your niece, Imani Moss?
It was 2013, Mother's Day, in May. That was in May.
So May of 2013 on Mother's Day, where did you see her?
It was at my house.
Did you have a Mother's Day gathering at your house?
I didn't. They just came over.
It ended up being everyone at your place. Who was there?
It was my mom, my brother, Tiffany, Imani, and the 2 other little children, Tristan and Emma.
And were your children there as well?
And my kids, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Yeah,
How many?
My 2 kids,
That's okay.
Zaya and India, my 2 little ones.
So all of you were there. Did you, when Imani showed up there, did you notice anything different about Imani that day?
Yes, her hair was cut off, and she had really beautiful long hair, and she no longer had that hair. And she seemed like she was frail and kind of timid. Her personality was different.
And you said her personality was different. What was her personality like prior to that?
Quiet. Just like a kid, just happy, playful, usually. And at that time, it was more like timid and it was just different.
So she was at least not herself enough for you as her aunt. You noticed something about her.
Yeah, I did.
And you said that her hair, had she always worn her hair long prior to that?
Always.
Did you ask her about her hair, or did you ask anybody about why her hair was cut?
Yes, I asked her dad. I said, why did y'all cut her hair?
And was he able to give you an explanation?
He said she cut it.
And by she, you mean Imani?
Imani, yes. I'm sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. Did you ask the defendant about the hairstyle at all, or only her dad?
I asked her dad because I didn't really talk to her much about anything, really.
And when you say didn't talk to her, just so we're clear, you didn't talk to Tiffany much?
Yes, Tiffany. It was more cordial, nothing.
Just pleasantries, predominantly?
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Right. After that day, on Mother's Day of 2013, you said, was that the last time then, in fact, that you ever saw your niece alive? It was. Did you, after May of 2013 and up until early November, did you still talk to your brother?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
In between May of 2013, that Mother's Day date,
okay,
and then when Imani was found dead in November, would you and your brother still talk to each other sometime during that time frame?
The relationship became distant. I didn't really talk to him much, no.
And would you say that was kind of the same with texting or communication every now and then?
It was every now and then.
In August of 2013, did you become aware of your brother's indication to homeschool Imani?
I did.
And how did you find that out?
He told me. I just we were speaking over the phone, and he mentioned that they're going to homeschool her. Tiffany is going to homeschool her, and it made no sense to me because they have 2 small children, and it just made no sense to take her out of school and homeschool her. And then, not to mention the situation for Mother's Day when she didn't look like herself. It just seemed like it was just something not right.
As a result of you learning that about the homeschooling and that she would not be back in a classroom with other children and a teacher during that school year and be homeschooled by the defendant, what did you do as a result of that?
I called DFACS.
Did you, in fact, make a report with DFACS?
I did.
And why did you call DFACS with regard to that?
Because I was concerned.
Why were you concerned, Sharonice?
Because she was not going to school, and it just seemed like something was wrong. Something wasn't right. I mean, I don't know. Because, I wasn't talking to them every day. I didn't live by them. I didn't see them. But it was just something in my spirit just told me something wasn't right. And then when the last time I saw her, when she really just didn't seem like herself, and then her not going to school, that was a red flag for me. Because I don't see how any mother could do that, knowing that they got 2 small kids. I know I couldn't do it.
And you made that report with DFACS. Did you ever see Imani again after you made that report with DFACS?
Never seen Imani again after that.
Ms. Moss, those are all the questions I have. Thank you, ma'am.
Cross-examination. May this witness be excused.
She may, Your Honor.
You're excused, ma'am. Thank you for coming. Call your next witness.
Just a moment, Your Honor.
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, the next witness that we have, he has not arrived yet. It was a little bit earlier than we anticipated his testimony. We do have another witness here. However, we anticipate his testimony to be more lengthy, which would include some exhibits. I'm not sure if you would be agreeable to breaking for lunch a little bit early, and then we'll make sure that we can get them in at that time.
That'll be fine. We'll go ahead and take our lunch break a little bit early, ladies and gentlemen. Some instructions that are going to, again, sound very familiar. Do not discuss the case with anyone. Do not allow anyone else to discuss the case with you or in your presence or hearing. Do not even discuss the case amongst yourselves. Do not attempt any independent research or investigation into any aspect of the case. And obviously don't look at, read, or otherwise observe any of the news media coverage that may exist with connection with the case. As the bailiffs may have already told you, we'll be keeping you together for lunch, so they'll show you where the cafeteria is. Keep your juror badge prominently displayed on your person at all times throughout this process. And we will be in recess until 1 o'clock. You can go out with our bailiffs. Thank you very much. Our jury's out. You're welcome to be seated. We'll be in recess until 1 o'clock.
Your Honor, I have a matter while the jury's out, and it really pertains to scheduling and what we have. I think we all agreed that depending on how things went today, we could get a firmer grip on scheduling. We would anticipate that the next 5 witnesses would not take us entirely through the afternoon, but the 6th witness, which is the co-defendant, is going to be lengthy for a variety of reasons. And what we would suggest to the court, or request from the court, is that we reach witness number 11 that we intend to call, and that we recess for the day. We are now in the process of moving our Oregon witness to Friday. At the pace that we are moving and anticipate moving, we would anticipate finishing the case on Friday.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. I expect I will follow that suggestion.
Right.
We'll be in recess until 1 o'clock. Thank you.